Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about a teacher we all share, a teacher that doesn't speak with words, doesn't carry a textbook, and yet leaves lessons etched deep within us. That teacher is time. Time is a beautiful teacher. It doesn't rush us, yet it never waits. It gives us moments of joy to savor and moments of pain to endure, and in every second it whispers a lesson, if only we're willing to listen. Think about it. The happiest days of your life, when laughter filled the air and the world felt limitless. Time was there teaching you gratitude. And the darkest nights, when the weight of the world pressed down on your shoulders. Time. I've learned that time doesn't just pass, it shapes us. It takes the raw material of who we are and carves it into something stronger, wiser, more human. When life throws challenges our way, when plans crumble, when dreams fade, time steps in quietly. It doesn't promise to fix everything, but it offers something better, perspective. It shows us that what feels like an ending is often just a beginning in disguise. But here's the thing about this teacher. It's patient, yet relentless. It doesn't let us skip the hard lessons. You can't bribe it, you can't bargain with it. When you fall, time doesn't lift you up, it waits for you to stand. And in that waiting, you discover something incredible, your own strength. You realize that the scars you carry aren't marks of defeat. They're proof you survived. Time teaches us to let go of anger, of regret, of the things we can't change. It shows us that holding on to the past is like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips away, no matter how tightly you grip. Instead, time invites us to look forward, to plant seeds today for a harvest we may not see tomorrow. It's a gentle reminder that every moment is a chance to start again. And oh, how beautifully it teaches us about love. Time shows us that love isn't just in the grand gestures, it's in the quiet mornings, the shared silences, the hands we hold through the years. It teaches us that the people we cherish won't always be here, so we must treasure them now, not later. So my friends, let's honor this teacher. Let's stop rushing through life as if time is an enemy to outrun. Instead, let's embrace it as the guide it is. Let's learn from its lessons, both the gentle and the tough. Because time doesn't just take, it gives. It gives us wisdom, it gives us courage, it gives us the chance to become the best version of ourselves. In the end, time is a mirror. It reflects who we've been, who we are, and who we can still become. So today I ask you, what will you let time teach you? How will you let it shape your story? Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. Time is a beautiful teacher, and its classroom is life itself. Let me know if you'd like me to tweak the tone, length, or anything else. Time shapes us through experience, a truth so simple, yet so profound that it often slips by unnoticed until we pause to reflect. Every moment we live, whether it's bathed in the golden light of joy or shrouded in the shadows of pain, works like a sculptor's chisel, carving us into something more than we were before. Think about the days when everything aligns perfectly. The sun shines a little brighter, laughter comes easily, and the world feels like it's conspiring in your favor. Those are the moments when time hands you a gift, a lesson wrapped in happiness. It whispers, this is what gratitude feels like. Hold on to it. Remember it, and you do, even if just for a while. Because those instances become the benchmarks of what life can be. They're the highs that give you something to reach for when the lows inevitably come. But time doesn't stop at the good. It's not a teacher that coddles or spares you the hard stuff. The painful moments, the ones where the ground falls out from under you, where loss or failure or heartbreak leave you gasping, those are just as much a part of its curriculum. When you're in the thick of it, it doesn't feel like a lesson, it feels like chaos, like punishment, like the universe has turned its back. Yet time keeps moving, steady and unyielding, and as it does, it starts to reveal something. The edges of that pain soften, not because the hurt disappears, but because you begin to see it differently. You start to notice the cracks where light seeps in, the places where you didn't just survive, but grew. Time takes those raw, jagged experiences and smooths them into something you can carry, something that makes you stronger, wiser, more human. This shaping isn't loud or obvious. It's not like a classroom where you sit down with a notebook and a pen waiting for the lecture to begin. Time doesn't announce its lessons with a bell or a syllabus. It's subtle, patient, working in the background of your life. Think about a river cutting through rock, not with force, but with persistence. Day after day, moment after moment, it wears away the parts of us that don't serve, polishes the parts that do, and leaves behind something new. You might not see it while it's happening. In fact, you probably won't. But then one day you look back, maybe it's a year later, maybe 10, and you realize you're not the same person you were. The experiences, good and bad, have left their mark, and that mark isn't a flaw, it's a feature. What's beautiful about this process is that it's universal. No one escapes it. The billionaire in their penthouse and the artist scraping by in a tiny apartment, they're both students of time. Joy comes to both, pain comes to both, and time stands there, impartial, offering its lessons to anyone willing to learn. It doesn't care about your status or your plans. It doesn't bend to your will. But it does give you something invaluable, the chance to become more compassionate because you've felt the sting of loss, more appreciative because you've tasted fleeting happiness, more resilient because you've had to pick yourself up when everything fell apart. And the thing is, you don't get to choose the curriculum. You don't get to say, I'll take the joy, but skip the sorrow, thanks. Time doesn't work that way. It's all or nothing, the highs and the lows, the triumphs and the tears. They're a package deal. But that's what makes it such a masterful teacher. It knows that without the contrast, you'd never fully understand either. Without the dark, the light wouldn't shine as bright. Without the struggle, the victory wouldn't taste as sweet. This isn't a process that feels heroic while it's happening. When you're in the thick of a challenge, whether it's grief, failure, or a dream that slipped through your fingers, it's messy and raw. You might feel weak, broken, like you're failing some unspoken test. You might beg time to speed up, to skip this part, to take you straight to the other side where the pain isn't so sharp. But time doesn't budge. It's not cruel, it's deliberate. It knows that rushing through wouldn't teach you anything. It knows that the real lesson, the one that sticks, the one that changes you, comes from sitting in the discomfort, from facing it head on. So it waits, not as a bystander, but as a guide, holding space for you to figure it out. And as the minutes turn to hours, the hours to days, you start to move. Maybe it's a small step at first, a breath, a decision, a moment of clarity, but it's movement all the same. That's where resilience begins. It's not in the absence of struggle, but in the act of enduring it. Time doesn't lift you up like some benevolent savior. It lets you lift yourself. It gives you the room to stumble, to falter, to feel the full weight of what's happened. And then it watches as you find your way back. Think about the times in your life when you thought you couldn't go on, when the loss was too deep, the rejection too stinging, the obstacle too big. You didn't feel strong then, did you? You probably felt like you were barely holding on, but here you are, you made it through, not because time handed you a shortcut, but because it gave you the chance to dig deep, to tap into something within you that refused to give up. That's resilience, not a gift bestowed, but a muscle built, flex by flex. in the quiet crucible of waiting. What's remarkable about this is how universal it is. No one gets a free pass. The person who seems unbreakable, the one who always has a smile, they've had their moments too, their nights of doubt and despair. Time doesn't play favorites. It waits for them just as it waits for you. And in that waiting, it levels the field. It doesn't matter how loud the fall was or how public the struggle. Resilience isn't about appearances. It's about what happens in the stillness when the noise fades and it's just you and the clock ticking forward. That's when you learn who you are. That's when you realize that the act of standing up again, no matter how long it takes, is the victory. The job you didn't get, the relationship that unraveled, the plan that fell apart, it all feels like a full stop, a period at the end of a sentence you didn't want to finish. In those moments, the world narrows. All you can see is what's gone, what's broken, what won't be. But time, with its quiet persistence, has a way of shifting the lens. It doesn't erase the pain or undo the ending, but it gently nudges you to look again. And what you find, often after days or months or even years, is that what felt like a conclusion was really just a pivot point, a beginning, dressed up as an end. This shift doesn't happen all at once. It's not a lightning bolt of revelation that strikes the moment you hit rock bottom. Time isn't that dramatic. It's more like a slow dawn, where the darkness lingers but the edges start to glow. And bit by bit, you realize the night isn't permanent. Maybe it was a failure that stung so badly you couldn't face the mirror, or a goodbye that left you hollow. In the thick of it, that was all there was, the sting, the emptiness, the certainty that nothing good could come next. But then time did its work. It didn't rush you through the grief or the anger. It let you feel it, let you sit with it, because that's part of the process. And as the days stacked up, something changed. You started to see threads you hadn't noticed before, a lesson learned, a strength gained, a door you didn't even know was there until you were ready to walk through it. That's the magic of perspective. It's not about denying what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about seeing the bigger picture that time paints for you. An ending, a lost opportunity, a shattered hope might close one path, but it clears the way for another. The job you didn't get might have kept you from a better one you never would have chased otherwise. The relationship that ended might have freed you to find a truer version of yourself. Time doesn't promise that every loss will turn into a fairy tale win, but it does promise this: nothing is as final as it seems. What looks like a dead end today might, with a little distance, reveal itself as a detour to somewhere you needed to go. And that's where the beginning hides. Not in the moment of breaking, but in the space that comes after, when you start to rebuild. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a pattern woven into life itself. Think about the stories you've heard, the ones that stick with you. The person who lost everything only to start over and thrive. The artist who turned rejection into fuel for their best work. Time was at play there, handing them perspective like a compass, guiding them from what was to what could be. It's the same for you. Every ending you've faced has carried a seed of something new, even if you couldn't see it at the time. And the beauty is, you don't have to force it. Time doesn't ask you to figure it all out right away. It just keeps moving, giving you the room to breathe, to process, to eventually look back and say, oh, that's what it was for. It lights the way to a beginning you never saw coming. Letting go is a gift of time, a quiet liberation that creeps in when you least expect it, loosening the grip of things that once felt impossible to release. Life hands us plenty to hold on to. Anger that burns hot and righteous, regrets that replay like a broken record, moments we wish we could rewrite or relive. In the beginning, these things feel like anchors, tethering us to the past with a weight that's both comforting and suffocating. You clutch them because they're familiar, because letting go feels like losing a piece of yourself. like admitting defeat. Anger keeps you warm when the world feels cold. Regret keeps you company when the silence gets too loud. But time, with its steady, unhurried rhythm, has a way of showing you that holding on isn't strength, it's a burden. It doesn't demand you drop everything at once. It just waits patiently until you're ready to see that what you're clinging to is holding you back. This isn't an easy lesson when you're caught in the swirl of what was, maybe a betrayal that cut deep, a mistake you can't forgive yourself for, or a dream that slipped away. It feels like letting go means giving up. You tell yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, you can make sense of it, fix it, turn it into something else. You imagine your hands cupped around water, trying to keep it from spilling, but no matter how tightly you squeeze, it seeps through your finger. That's what time reveals. The past isn't yours to control. It's not a thing you can shape or bargain with. It's gone, and all the energy you pour into gripping it is energy you're stealing from the present. Time doesn't judge you for trying. It knows how human it is to want to hold on. But it also knows that freedom lies on the other side. The process is slow, almost imperceptible. You don't wake up one day and decide, today I'm done with this. It's more like a gradual unraveling. One day you notice the anger doesn't flare as quickly as it used to. The next, you catch yourself laughing without that old pang of guilt. Time doesn't erase what happened. It can't. But it softens the edges, dulls the sharpness, makes it less of a weapon you wield against yourself. It's like watching a river smooth a jagged stone. The shape is still there, the memory remains, but it doesn't cut anymore. And in that softening, you start to feel lighter. You realize that letting go isn't about forgetting or pretending it didn't matter. It's about giving yourself permission to move forward unencumbered. What's beautiful about this gift is how it transforms you. The things you release don't just vanish, they leave something behind. A space, a clarity, a chance to breathe. Letting go of anger opens the door to peace. Letting go of regret makes room for hope. Letting go of what you can't change frees you to build something new. Time shows you that these aren't losses, they're trades. Exchanges for something better. It's not a loud victory, not a moment you'll mark on a calendar. It's quieter than that, a shift that happens in the background of your life until one day you look around and realize you're not carrying that weight anymore. You're standing taller, moving easier, living fuller. And this giving you chances to practice. Every hurt, every misstep, every what if is another invitation from time to let go. It doesn't rush you. It knows some things take longer to release than others, but it keeps offering the lesson over and over until it sticks. Because that's the gift, not just the act of letting go, but the understanding that you can, that you're not doomed to carry every burden forever, that the past, with all its mess and beauty, doesn't own you. Time hands you the key and says, whenever you're ready, the door's right there. And when you finally turn it, when you step through and feel the air on the other side, you'll know. Letting go isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of everything else. Love lies in the everyday moments, a truth that time unveils with a tenderness that's easy to miss until you learn to look for it. We often think of love as something grand, sweeping gestures, dramatic declarations, the stuff of movies and songs that make your heart race. And sure, those moments happen, and they're beautiful when they do. But time, with its gentle insistence, shows you that those peaks are just the highlights, not the foundation. The real heartbeat of love isn't in the spotlight, it's in the quiet, ordinary spaces that fill the days between. It's in the way someone pours your coffee just how you like it, the sound of their voice calling your name across a room, the warmth of their hand brushing yours without a word. Time teaches you that these are the threads that weave love into something lasting, something real. This isn't just about romantic love either. Time shows you it's in the friend who texts you just to check in, the parent who still worries about you no matter how old you get, the sibling who knows your quirks better than anyone, It's in the everyday exchanges, the quick hug, the inside joke, the I saw this and thought of you. These moments don't announce themselves with trumpets. They whisper. But time amplifies them, turns them into the soundtrack of your life. You start to see that love isn't a single event. It's a collection, a mosaic built from 1,000 tiny pieces that you only fully appreciate when you step back and take it all in. And here's the catch. Time doesn't let you hoard these moments. It keeps moving, and the people who fill them won't always be there. That's the ache woven into the lesson. Love lives in the now, and the now doesn't last forever. So time nudges you, gently but firmly, to pay attention. To say the mundane as much as the magnificent. To say, I love you, not just in the big speeches, but in the small acts. The shared glance, the squeezed hand, the be safe as they walk out the door. Because when it's gone, when time takes them or takes you, it's not the grand gestures you'll miss most. It's the everyday stuff. The sound of their footsteps, the shape of their shadow in the hall. The way they made the ordinary feel like home. This reflection starts small. Think back to who you were 5 years ago, 10, 20. That version of you had dreams, fears, a way of seeing the world that felt so solid, so certain. Time shows you that person like a snapshot. Maybe they were bolder than you remember, or more fragile, or caught up in things that don't matter now. You can see the innocence there, the rough edges, the moments they thought were the end of the world but turned out to be just a bump. And then time flips the mirror to today. You're different now. Maybe wiser, maybe softer, maybe harder in places you didn't expect. The things that broke you back then didn't finish you, they shaped you. The joys you chased shifted into new ones. Time lays it out like a map, connecting the dots between then and now, showing you how every step, even the missteps, built the person staring back at you. But it's not just about looking back. Time's mirror points forward too, teasing out the potential that's still unfolding. It's in the way you handle things differently now, the patience you've learned, the courage you've found, the way you've started to let go of what doesn't serve you. You might not see it day to day, caught up in the grind or the noise, but time keeps track. It's there in the quiet moments when you surprise yourself, when you speak up where you once stayed silent, when you forgive what you once held tight, when you dare to dream again after a fall. That's growth. And time reflects it back, not as a finished product, but as a work in progress. It whispers, you're not done yet. There's more to you than this. What's striking about this mirror is how honest it is. It doesn't sugarcoat or hide the rough parts, the mistakes, the regrets, the times you fell short. They're all there, etched into the glass. But time doesn't leave them as stains. It frames them as lessons, pieces of the story that got you here. You can't erase them, and you shouldn't want to, because they're part of the growth. The argument you wish you'd had, the risk that didn't pay off taught you grit. Time shows you that even the cracks contribute to the whole, that the flaws aren't failures, they are evidence you've lived, you've tried, you've grown. And this reflection isn't static. Every day, time adjusts the image, adding new layers. The person you are today won't be the same tomorrow, next year, a decade from now. That's the promise and the challenge of it. Growth doesn't stop. Time keeps holding up the mirror, asking, what will you do with this? Who will you become? It's not about perfection, it's about motion, about choosing to step into the next version of yourself, carrying the past, not as a weight, but as a foundation. Because that's what time shows you. You're a story, not a statue, and every chapter adds depth, every turn adds possibility. So when you face this mirror, don't shy away. Look at the lines, the light, the shadows. See the kid you were, the fighter you are, the dreamer you're still becoming. Time isn't just counting the years. It's showing you the growth they've held, urging you to keep going, to keep writing. It's your reflection, your proof, your potential, all in one. And it's yours to shape, one moment at a time.